Have you ever wondered how soldiers don't end up shooting each other during a war? When chaos is exploding around them, uniforms look identical, and communication is limited. How do they know when to shoot and when to hold fire? War isn't always clean. It's not a video game. In the real world, it's loud, fast, and confusing. But modern militaries have developed a mix of technology and old-school tactics to help soldiers figure out friend from foe. In fact, some of the methods are downright bizarre. Today on Sketchy Tunes, let's explore how soldiers know who's who in combat. Let's start with the main problem. The battlefield is a mess. Friendly fire, also known as fratricide or blue on blue, isn't rare. In fact, it's happened in every major conflict in modern history. Estimates suggest that friendly fire accounts for anywhere from 2% to 25% of casualties, depending on the war and how open the reporting is. That's a staggering number. The causes are many: stress, confusion, fast-moving targets, miscommunication, and simple human error. In World War II, Allied planes were marked with bold black and white invasion stripes, just to reduce the chance of being shot down by their own side. In Iraq, Patriot missile systems accidentally downed British fighter jets. In Afghanistan, US forces dropped bombs on Canadian troops during a night exercise. War is messy, and identification isn't always visual. And even when it is, the guy aiming at you might just be wearing the same camo you are. This is why militaries have developed complex systems to help soldiers make split-second decisions. Because when you're staring down a barrel and someone pops into your line of sight, you don't have time to guess. Friendly fire are two words no soldier wants to hear, and it happens more than you might think. It means being attacked, not by the enemy, but by your own side. It's known officially as fratricide, and it happens more often than most people realize. In NATO forces, it's called a blue-on-blue incident. That's because, in military exercises, NATO forces are marked blue. Enemy units are red. So, when blue hits blue, something's gone terribly wrong. So, what causes it? Well, plenty actually. Misidentifying targets, shooting through crossfire, bad weather, poor visibility, confusing terrain, stress, miscommunication, and sometimes just being too close to the fight. War is chaos, and that chaos has a name: the fog of war. When adrenaline is high and bullets are flying, even the best trained forces can make fatal mistakes. Sometimes it's a targeting error, firing at an enemy and hitting friendly troops nearby. Sometimes it's misidentification, thinking a friendly unit is hostile. A tragic example happened in 2003 during the Iraq War, when a US Patriot missile shot down a British aircraft. Or the Tarnak Farm incident in Afghanistan, where a US F-16 bombed Canadian soldiers on a training mission. Then there's response inhibition failure. That's basically a fancy way of saying someone pulled the trigger before confirming the target. It's not just a visual mistake, it's a mental one too. Friendly fire has always existed, but modern warfare made it worse. Artillery, aircraft, and long-range weapons have made it easier to strike the wrong target from far away. But militaries know the risk, and they work hard to reduce it. Training is the first line of defense, and troops drill relentlessly, practicing target recognition, fire discipline, and communication. Apache pilots train to identify vehicles, and tank crews study robotic targets. Everyone trains under night conditions, in rough weather, in total chaos. So when it really does happen, they're ready. Technology helps too. In the old days, soldiers used markings such as colored armbands, flags, and even pine branches to tell friend from foe. In World War II, Allied planes got black and white invasion stripes. Today, we use infrared beacons, thermal tape, GPS, and blue force tracking, so command always knows where everyone is. But even the best tech isn't perfect. Enemies sometimes wear stolen uniforms. During Desert Storm, US troops relied on infrared strobes, thermal patches, and even paint patterns to ID each other. That pattern recognition can become almost a sixth sense. In the end, avoiding friendly fire comes down to one thing: situational awareness. Who's where, who's doing what, and finally, what's safe to shoot at, and what's not. But not every army fights with high-tech gear. In fact, over the years, there have been some seriously low-tech ways of telling who's who in combat. In civil wars, revolutions, or insurgent battles, soldiers don't always have FLIR or GPS. Identification becomes a mix of visual improvisation and tribal knowledge. In Ukraine, soldiers use armbands to distinguish themselves. Yellow and blue for Ukrainian troops, red or white for Russian aligned forces. Vehicles often carry painted symbols like chevrons or letters like the now infamous Z. In Liberia's civil war, some factions became known for blasting music or using some seriously unique methods of identification. Liberia's brutal civil war was not only a conflict of guns and strategy, but also one filled with strange and shocking behaviors. Among the many factions fighting for control, some became notorious not just for their violence, but for the bizarre ways they tried to intimidate enemies and rally their own troops. One of the most infamous figures was a militia leader known as General Butt Naked. His real name is Joshua Milton Blaye, but he earned this unforgettable nickname because he literally fought in the nude. Why? General Butt Naked believed that by shedding his clothes, and thus all human vulnerability, he became spiritually invincible. According to him and many of his followers, this nakedness protected him from bullets and gave him supernatural powers on the battlefield. He and his troops would sometimes blast loud music to intimidate opponents, while others adopted unique or frightening attire to unsettle enemies and inspire fear. This mix of psychological warfare and superstition added a surreal, terrifying layer to the conflict. Then we have the Romans. In the Roman army, nothing was more sacred than the eagle, the aquila, a powerful marker used in war. The aquila was a bronze or silver eagle mounted on a pole, carried by a specially chosen soldier called the aquilifer. This wasn't just a ceremonial job. The aquilifer was a frontline fighter, trusted to protect the legion's most valuable possession. Each legion had only one eagle. Losing it in battle wasn't just a defeat, it was a disgrace. Some legions were even disbanded if their eagle was captured. Roman units used other standards too, called signa, decorated with metal discs, wreaths, or emblems. These helped soldiers find their place in the chaos of battle. But the eagle was different. It was the rallying point. When the eagle moved forward, the legion followed. When it fell back, the signal was clear: regroup. The aquilifer stood out, often wearing lion or bear skins. He had to be visible, brave, and unshakable under pressure. Roman legions also used distinctive shield designs, helmet crests, and trumpet calls to help identify units and coordinate movements. The eagle stood above all of it, a symbol of honor, identity, and divine favor. That's why its loss could break morale and, worse, inspire the enemy. After the devastating defeat at Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD, 3 Roman eagles were taken by Germanic tribes. Rome considered it such a shame that it launched recovery missions decades later. And during Caesar's invasion of Britain, one soldier leapt into the sea with the eagle, forcing his comrades to follow or face humiliation. Now that's one way to show you're a loyal soldier. Now let's fast forward a few thousand years. Yep, even in the 1990s, things could still go pretty badly when it came to combat. And when it all goes wrong? Well, it goes really wrong. One of the most infamous friendly fire incidents in modern military history happened on April 14, 1994, during a humanitarian mission over northern Iraq. 2 U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopters, flying as part of Operation Provide Comfort, were tragically shot down by 2 U.S. Air Force F-15 fighter jets. The F-15s mistook the Black Hawks for hostile, Soviet-made helicopters, firing missiles that destroyed both aircraft. 26 people lost their lives, including 15 American service members. How did this catastrophe unfold, despite the sophisticated systems and protocols designed to prevent it? Both the Black Hawks and F-15s were operating within a designated no-fly zone over northern Iraq, and were in contact with the same AWACS, Airborne Warning and Control System aircraft, tasked with coordinating friendly forces and monitoring airspace. The Blackhawks had the legal right to be there, and communication channels were open. Yet something went terribly wrong. The crucial failure came down to the IFF, Identification Friend or Foe System, which was supposed to allow the F-15s to electronically confirm that the Blackhawks were friendly. The Blackhawks' IFF transponders failed to respond properly, causing the fighters to receive no confirmation. To the F-15 pilots, the Blackhawks appeared as enemy targets. A visual flyby only added to the confusion. Pilots believed the helicopters resembled the hostile Mi-24 Hind attack helicopters used by Iraq's military. They radioed their identification to AWACS, but the AWACS crew, overwhelmed and stretched thin, did not challenge the fighters' assessment or intervene to prevent the attack. When the missiles launched, the investigation later found no single glaring error that caused the tragedy. Instead, it revealed a grim reality known as practical drift. This concept describes how systems and procedures, while designed to maintain safety and order, can slowly shift over time. Field operators adapt protocols to suit immediate needs or conditions, sometimes bypassing steps or assuming things will work as expected. These small, often unconscious changes accumulate, weakening safety measures and increasing vulnerability to catastrophic failure. In this case, communication gaps, equipment malfunctions, and misjudgments all added up on top of each other, with no one person or system fully accountable. Every member of the chain acted in good faith, yet the fog of war, a mix of confusion, stress, and uncertainty, clouded judgment and led to disaster. It really was a sobering lesson. Even the most advanced technology and well-trained forces are not immune to the chaos of combat. So how does the military teach soldiers to know who's who? The system that underpins all of this is called Combat Identification, CID for short. CID is built on two pillars: situational awareness and target identification. Situational awareness, or SA, is the big picture stuff. It's knowing where friendly units are, where the enemy is expected to be, and where civilians may be caught in the middle. Tools like Blue Force Tracking, a GPS-based system, allow command centers and even individual vehicles to see real-time positions of friendly forces on digital maps. Blue Force Tracking, or BFT, is like giving every soldier and vehicle a real-time GPS tracker on the battlefield. Imagine being able to see exactly where your teammates are at any moment. No guesswork, no blind spots. That's what BFT does. Using satellite signals and secure communications, it sends location data from friendly units back to command centers and to other units in the field, creating a constantly updated digital map of blue forces. That's military jargon for friendly troops. This system helps reduce the risk of friendly fire by making sure everyone knows who's where, even in confusing, fast-moving situations. Instead of relying solely on radios or visual signals, which can be unclear or missed in the chaos, soldiers can glance at a screen and see their allies' positions, avoiding dangerous mix-ups. Still, like any technology, it's not perfect. Satellite signals can be blocked, hacked, or delayed, and it relies on everyone keeping their devices powered and connected. Then there's the target identification, or TI. This happens at the moment of engagement. You see a figure in the distance. Are they friend, foe, or neutral? That's where TI kicks in. It uses both cooperative and non-cooperative systems. Cooperative target ID is like a digital handshake. Take, for example, IFF, Identification Friend or Foe. IFF, or Identification Friend or Foe, is one of the military's frontline defenses against friendly fire. Think of it as a high-tech password system used in the chaos of combat to quickly tell who's on your side and who isn't. Every aircraft, ship, and some ground vehicles carry IFF transponders that send out coded signals when queried. Friendly forces have the right codes to respond, confirming their identity instantly. When a fighter jet, radar system, or missile launcher pings a target, the IFF system looks for that response. If it hears the correct password, it knows not to fire. If the response is missing or wrong, the target is flagged as hostile, which can trigger an attack. It's a brilliant safeguard designed to save lives. But IFF isn't foolproof. Signals can fail due to technical glitches, interference, or human error. Sometimes the transponder might be off, damaged, or simply not responding in time. Worse, in the heat of battle, operators might misinterpret the signals or rush decisions before the system can confirm friend or foe. The tragic 1994 Black Hawk incident is a grim example of what can happen when IFF fails. A chain reaction of mistakes triggered by a single missed signal. Then there's non-cooperative target ID, which relies on optics and markings. One of the crucial technologies soldiers and pilots rely on to avoid mistakes like friendly fire is FLIR, forward-looking infrared. Imagine trying to spot a friend or enemy in total darkness, through smoke, or in bad weather. That's exactly what FLIR helps with. Instead of relying on visible light, FLIR uses infrared sensors to detect heat signatures, painting a clear picture of what's happening on the battlefield, even when human eyes can't see a thing. FLIR systems are often mounted on helicopters, drones, tanks, and even soldiers' helmets, giving real-time thermal images that highlight living beings, engines, and other heat sources. This thermal vision helps identify targets and track movements, making it an invaluable tool for combat identification. When split-second decisions are required, FLIR can be the difference between recognizing a friendly soldier and mistakenly firing on an ally. So how do soldiers really know who's who in the heat of battle? The honest answer is, they don't always. No matter how much training they've had or how advanced their technology is, the chaos and confusion of combat can turn everything upside down in a split second. Soldiers spend countless hours preparing for these moments, sharpening their instincts, practicing communication, and relying on every tool available, from GPS trackers and friend or foe identification systems to gut feelings, to make decisions that can mean life or death. Combat identification isn't just about having the right gear. It's a mindset, a way of thinking under extreme pressure. It's discipline, focus, and the constant awareness that even the best technology can't replace human judgment. At the end of the day, it's still people out there. Flashing lights, radios, and maps can only do so much when the fog of war rolls in. And that fog, it's always thicker than it looks. In fact, it's blinding, confusing, and dangerous. Friendly fire reminds us how fragile things are in battle and why every second, every decision counts more than we can imagine.